Hey, what's up, everybody? Chris Canote here, coming at you from Canote Film Studios with my new video podcast show, The Chris Canote Show, where I can do and say whatever I want and do ASMR at the same time. Guys, I'm so excited about today's guest. About 2 weeks ago, my phone was just blowing up. People were messaging me, texting me, saying, dude, have you seen Joe Exotic has his own Netflix series? And the reason why that's so significant is because I interviewed Joe Exotic about 3.5 years ago on my YouTube channel. And it was a crazy interview. You guys have to check it out. Link below in the description. Had a lot of fun with that. Joe Exotic, I came across him on YouTube somehow. He was running for president. He was a gay, gun-toting redneck with a mullet. Who wouldn't want to interview this guy? So I had the opportunity to do that, and now he has his own Netflix series, The Tiger King. And guys, today's guest is a gentleman who worked for Joe Exotic on his exotic animal park for about 2 years. Guys, I give to you the one and only David Stanton. David, thanks so much for being a guest on the show.
Well, Chris, thanks for having me.
But first, David, I want to see what you think of my jacket. I wore this for Joe Exotic about 3.5 years ago when I interviewed him. What do you think?
It looks pretty good, actually.
Well, thank you very much.
Where did you get that?
My mother, actually.
Your mom, did she make it?
No, this is straight up 90s, straight up 1994, like legit.
Oh, yes. It's awesome. I like it.
Why, thank you. I'm a huge fan of Fringe. David, you worked for Joe for roughly 2 years. Tell us what you did for Joe and how you found your way into the world of Joe Exotic.
Yeah, it's so funny. I'm always asked that same question because earlier, I was interviewed from the Post-Gazette here in Pittsburgh. And then also the producer who produced Blackfish. He's coming out with a movie about this Joe Exotic thing as well. But how I got to Joe was I used to do a TV. There used to be a newspaper here in Pittsburgh called Out. It was an LGBT newspaper, and so I got with him 2 years prior to develop Out TV. So I was doing Out TV. Then I used to have a show called Talk It Out. You could call into that show. So Joe Exotic started calling into the show because he watched it. And then I started asking him back, to be a regular guest because he'd bring animals on. And so during that time, you talk to him, Joe has a very mysterious way of pulling people into his world. I don't know how he does it. And I always feared that, I call it a cult mentality. He's a cult leader, I'm telling you. Okay. So or he just has the power of a cult leader. And I always thought if America ever had the chance to hear them, they'd be sucked into that too. And when you know it, that's exactly what happened. So he convinced me to leave Out TV and to go down there and start a TV initiative for him. And I said, but the only way I would go down there, I wouldn't go down there as his employee. I would go down there as a business partner. And then also the studio that everybody's seen burned down in the Netflix special. Like I built that studio. Like when I first arrived there, there's a whole story even before I even saw the studio. But basically, I was brought to the studio to this big metal building that smelled like fish because there was alligators on each side, and in the middle, he's like, "Create a studio." So I did. So that's how I met him.
Tell me, David, so you end up on Joe's property. You set up this studio. What kind of videos did you produce for Joe?
It's basically to create a show around Joe, like it's a reality type show, and then make it our own with the TV station. And so it's supposed to be for the good animals. And it really didn't necessarily turn out that way because what I ended up filming all the time was death. Every single day I had filmed death. If it wasn't him shooting an animal, it was other animals that they would find dead. You know what I mean, within the park. For example, there was a Cudamonde that used to live outside of my studio. There's two of them. They were brothers. They lived in a cage together. And a cage as big as my chair. You see my chair here? Like, is like vertical. That's how long these, and just two Cudamondes had lived in there. Well, anyways, they apparently forgot to feed it. So the one killed its brother and ate its brother. And then, and then I'm the one who found it. right? So then I call everybody. I called some staff over, and then Joe as well. And Joe actually laughs about it. You know what I mean? So that, and then he's like, "Well, get the dead one out of there and keep that one on display." I mean, and then a day prior to that, a bear, which I'm surprised that they let this one die, died of dehydration. And it was on the trail that everybody walks, the public gets to walk. He was actually one of those bears. I mean, but there's animals like behind the scenes too that wasn't shown to the public that would just. Now I understand things die. You know, I had 2 dogs die last year. So, but things didn't die of old age there. You know, they would usually be killed before then. Like for some odd reason, they would be killed. Like if Joe didn't like an animal, he would just kill it. Or if it didn't cooperate with them, he would kill it. That's why there was 50 tigers buried in his backyard. All 50 of those probably didn't cooperate with him.
Wow, 50 plus tigers Joe took out. Like, how did he kill the animals?
That was just behind his house. Okay, there's like another area behind. They had this area that was by what are those animals that eat dead things? Not wildebeest. Hyenas. Now they had a big hyena cage, and by the hyenas was a graveyard of tigers. And then what he would do is he had all these things. At least I thought they were there because he had all these things where people would donate money because of these dead tigers. But you know but he would say they died of old age and stuff like that. And this is not true. Nothing ever got to be old age there. And he has every kind of match. He's getting all this thing about tigers. And no, you got to understand, tigers was part of the zoo. You know, he had multiple monkeys. Like just there's a monkey house and chimpanzees and bears and camels and all animals. Just so many animals you can't even think. Panthers, cootamundés, alligators, wolf breeds. I mean, just all kinds of animals. Just couldn't believe it.
But if Joe were to take out an animal, like, how would he do that? How did he take care of business?
Every day people would bring horses to the park thinking that they would be going out to pasture, but meanwhile they would be shot in the head 20 or not, I'm sorry, 10 minutes later, and they'd be already flayed up. So like everything died that went in there. What was the question I was answering?
When Joe killed these animals, how would he kill them?
Oh, well, anyway, so Miracle, I was telling you about Miracle. Oh, so then we got a horse in there. So the horse, we had to pretend like that we were helping it and was going to give it out to pasture. And then, but that night, and then I even filmed it, and then we pretended like this veterinarian came and checked its leg and all this stuff. But this is all fake. And then, so then that night, we also had a fundraiser saying that we needed money to help Miracle. We called it Miracle, Wonder Horse, right? And that because Miracle had a bad leg, so we did this whole fake thing, and put it in this stall where horses go and all this stuff, saying that we're going to keep it there. But that night they shot Miracle. When I went home, they shot Miracle, and then when I went in the next morning to get some footage of Miracle, and Miracle was gone already, and they had told me they shot it. So a lot of the killings were done not in the view of me or they were done in the back of Joe's house. So he would just kind of take them back there and do that.
I'm assuming Joe was shooting them with a gun?
Yes, we'd shoot them, or he would have somebody else shoot them. But I've seen that man shoot so many horses. It's unreal. Matter of fact, I used to I'm the only person maybe in the world who can shoot and edit video without looking at it, because I had taught myself to hold a camera and film death, because I had to film everything. So film death while him shooting the horses and film them cutting it up, and then when I had to edit the video, I would edit the video via sound, because I can't stand to watch all that. That's actually why I haven't watched the Netflix special, because I think I have PTSD from the place a little bit. So, and the way that what I have seen of it, the clips and stuff, life is really like that there, 24 hours a day. It never stops.
David, tell us why you left the property. I mean, you've told us enough reasons already, but was there one big reason that was just the last straw?
Well, what the final straw for me was, I mean, because during this whole time, Joe and I was fighting, because I kept seeing all this stuff that was going on, and I just couldn't justify it in my mind that I was there. You know what I mean? That I couldn't believe that I was involved in this type of thing. And I was really scared because I knew I couldn't leave. Like you don't get to leave that place because it's a very cult mentality type place. So what made me found I actually we had a fundraiser. See, what we would do is we would have fundraisers, and then Joe would literally go out of town or to the hotel that was in Paul's Valley and stay there for 3 or 4 days and be all high up on meth and stuff like that, and then he would come back. So I knew during that, by the time we got to the time where I was about to leave, he had already pulled a gun on me and stuff like that. And when he pulled the gun on me, he told me to shut up. And because I was even saying on Facebook the stuff that was going on there, he told me to shut up or he's going to take care of me. So then I go, okay, I'll shut up. So I didn't say anything anymore. And then I realized from that point, I had to figure out a way to get out of there safely. I had to trick my way out of it. So then I shut up from that point on, and then he had another fundraiser, and I figured during the fundraiser time when he takes that money to go do his meth things, that I'll take that time to leave. So then that's what I did. I waited till he had a fundraiser, let him make his money, thinking everything's hunky dory. So then he went off to go party, and one of the reasons too was behind my studio there's a cage there. And every day I would walk to my studio, it would be getting more and more full of domestic cats. But nobody was feeding these cats or anything. And there was pregnant cats in there too. So I'm like, and every single day I'd walk by, there'd be more in there. And so I finally asked Joe, what's going on with all these cats here? Does anybody even know that somebody's hoarding all these cats in this thing? He goes, what are you talking about? He goes, what's the big deal? That's for the reptile house. And what they do is they feed, I swear, they feed domestic cats to the reptiles. And the reason why they were starving them down and not taking care of them is because they wanted them lethargic. Because he even said, he goes, a snake will not eat a cat that's like a healthy cat. A snake will not eat that. A snake will eat a cat that's kind of sickly and can't get away and stuff like that. So that's exactly what they were doing to those cats. And I was like, and kittens are my weakness in life. So I was like, no. So there's 53 of them. So I had a van. It was a company van, believe it or not, from there. But I got all those cats and packed them up in my van, also along with my equipment. And then I brought them all back to my luxury apartment. And then I went to the office there and told them the truth. I was like, listen, I was at that park. This is all these cats. This is what's happening to them. And I took them all to my apartment. And they were like, okay, we understand. You can keep them until you can get rid of them. Do what you need to do. So they let me. So I actually was able to find homes for all 53 cats, which took like 2 months. But during that time, I also had the cats had the kittens in my house too. So I actually had more than that. So then after that, when he came back, of course, he freaked out. And then he sent the police, because the police over there in Paul's Valley, he was greasing their palms, whatever. They would do whatever he said. Seriously, I don't know. That police force over there does whatever. They agree with him. They do whatever he says. I think because he brought tourism to the town or something. You know what I mean? So they kissed his ass. So then he sent them to my house and said that I stole all of the equipment and that I embezzled money, right? So then these policemen they come to my house, knock on my door, rustle me out into the squad car, take me down to the police station, right? And they were like, yeah, you stole all this stuff, and we're going to put you in jail and all this stuff, right? And I go, hold on a minute. So I pulled up an email thing, and I had, because I'm a smart guy, maybe in a way. So I had prior to going down there, I sent all of my equipment down there to start this TV station, but I had receipts for everything. Because I knew that, because I've been stolen from before, unfortunately. So I knew to always have receipts for anything. So I saved all my receipts that had my name on them too. And I showed them all. So they were like, oh, okay. They were like, well, then we also got this thing that you've embezzled money. And then they tried to say embezzled money from an account that was in both of our names. And then the amount that they said I embezzled was $16 because I had taken one of the employees helped me film something. So I took him to lunch to Burger King. So he tried to say it. So then, but Joe didn't tell them that it was on an account that was also my name. So then they couldn't do anything. And then a few days later, they come and rustle me up again, saying that I stole the van, the company van. And then meanwhile, I had to show them an email saying that Joe said that they would send somebody over to pick the van up. And I responded back, okay, it's just sitting there. Just let me know and I'll give you the keys. I mean, so like he would lie to the police to get them to come and harass me and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So I was scared for my life. And then they finally did pick up the van, and the people that he sent to pick up the van were these, because he had all these immigrants. I'm surprised he didn't get charged for that too. He had so many immigrants working for him. That was, I would say, immigrants were 95% of the staff. Like it wasn't American people. There's American people, but he would not hire you if you're American because for one, he didn't pay enough, so normal people wouldn't work there for that amount of money. And the only people that did work there that were Americans because they thought that it would lead to something else. They could put it on a resume. It'd be exciting to work there. But it was all immigrant people. Nobody was, everything was paid under the table. And they were like thuggish, okay? Because they could slice up a horse in minutes. I'm not kidding you. In minutes. And the big giant horse. Here you go. That's why, and I was like, they could do that to a human. And that's what I thought when he pulled the gun on me. I was like, I better shut up because I'm going to be sliced up, fed to as tigers. And they'd be like, David quit. We don't know where he went. Maybe he went back to Pittsburgh. I'm like thinking all that. So anyway, so he sends these thugs to my apartment to pick up the van. And I felt that he did that so these thugs that worked there knew who I was or where I lived. I'm sitting there thinking, I remember at that point, man, I was literally shaking. So I called Carol Baskin and because she had contacted me prior to that and said, congratulations for getting out there. Now you probably know and stuff. So then I called and told her what happened. So then she immediately, the very next day, flew me out of there to Florida to Big Cat Rescue. And then while I was in Big Cat Rescue, one of the deals also was that I had to do a recorded statement to the USDA about what actually goes on there. And because of that is kind of what started the whole investigation into Joe, started this whole Netflix thing almost. And then actually how the Netflix thing, the producer who recorded all that video footage and stuff, he replaced me because when I quit, that's who he got to replace me. And then Joe actually went all hog wild because he was so angry that I left there. And then I came up here and I started Gay Life Television and had this big, beautiful studio and stuff like that. And then he's like, so that pissed him off so much that's why he started a Joe Exotic TV and wanted to go hog wild on it. And I know Joe personally. And I can guarantee you the reason why he went so hard on video and all that crazy stuff is because of the stuff I was doing. And then I actually owned a gay bar for a while. As soon as I owned a bar, he opens up a bar to me. So every single thing I would do, he would go and try to out surpass it. Do you mean? And then it just led to one thing after another. The bigger I would get, the more he would just go harder because he did not want. I know, Joe. I'm telling you this. He did not want me to get bigger than him, so to speak, because I left there.
You said something super huge to me, and I think the fans are going to find this so fascinating. But because of you going to Carol Baskin's place, this is really what started a big part of the crap show between Joe and Carol. Am I right?
Yeah, I would say she needed somebody that was on the inside to make a report to the USDA. And so, it was, I'm not going to say it was all because of me or something like that. Even if I would want credit for that, but it wasn't, it was a big majority of it because she needed that. She has been doing it all along, but she needed that key factor, so to speak, an actual testimony from somebody who was there.
Even though it wasn't 100%, I mean, it really must have gotten Joe super upset.
Well, it got the USDA. It was the evidence that the USDA needed to go forth with a deeper investigation.
Were you ever scared for your life? I mean, I know you were scared for your life at times before then, but especially teaming up with Carol Baskin and doing what you did to Joe, were you even more scared?
Yes, I still get scared for my life. Even the guy from Blackfish producer told me today, he's like, just be careful who you do interviews with. Yeah, because I do know that the exotic animal people can be a crazy bunch, and it's more important to me to get the truth out there because everybody's worshiping a monster right at this moment, and that's not where you want to be, America.
Now, did you live on property with Joe?
Yes, I did. for for about 2 months before I left there. Because here's why. I'll tell you about what it's like when I first got there. Okay, so I first arrived from the train station, and John, the guy with no teeth, picks me up in a beautiful cherry red Mustang. So I get there finally, and they go, "Well, let me take you to your accommodations," and they take me to this trailer, this like double wide trailer, I guess it was. And I go in, and it's filthy as fuck. Okay, and then there's other people living in there too. Bobby, who was the secretary up there, and some immigrant people. So Bobby had a room. The immigrant people would, and some other guy, and another office guy. So there was 4 other people in the trailer plus me. So luckily I had my own room, so to speak. So they take me back to my own room, and I'm thinking, well, maybe it's a little bit nice now. So I go in there, and all it is a mattress on the floor, and then thrown on the mattress is a package of really low thread count sheets from Walmart. That's all. So it's like this mattress and this package of sheets that was thrown on it. Like that's all that was in there. But it did have a bathroom that was attached to it, kind of. So then I was like, okay. So then I go and I check out the bathroom, and I didn't notice it until he left, and I go and open up the shower curtain, and there's literally a big hole to the outside. That's just they're like, and this is your bathroom. And then the bathroom, like the drainage, the sewage, when you go to the bathroom and you flush it, it goes out to a creek. Like this creek that all of their poop and everything goes right into a creek. So they don't even have plumbing there. The only good thing about it was the actual animals themselves. And I mean, fortunately, what I did get to do is I had full access to the park, and I could go throughout the park on my own pretty much anytime I want. So I kind of did develop some relationships with animals, just wolves and panthers and just crazy animals, camels, that I would have never have had the opportunity to do so otherwise. You know what I mean? So there's like some beautiful moments that I would never have gotten anywhere else in my life, from that place. So, and seeing these beautiful animals and knowing what they go through is why it's such a emotional thing.
And I know we've only known each other for just a little bit, but David, I can tell you're a beautiful spirit. You love animals. You have a huge heart. And it is just so unfortunate that you had to go through and see all of that.
Thank you.
Now, you've probably already answered this, but what is like the craziest thing you've ever seen Joe do?
When the crazy pull a gun on me. I thought that was pretty crazy. Well, it's hard to say what was the most craziest thing, but because everything was crazy. Did you ever see that movie about Jim Jones? Like that's exactly what it was like there. And then once he pulled that gun on me, it was like my mission to get out of there, and I had to trick this man to get out of there because I knew he would kill me before I would get out of there. I knew it. And Joe, if you're watching, you know what I'm talking about because that scared the shit out of me. And I'm so glad that I was able to escape. I'm serious because I remember thinking that's a scary feeling to feel like, because you might watch movies about that sort of thing, but to actually be in that situation where you think that you actually might be killed and they're going to definitely get away with it because they have so many alibis. Oh, he just left, or you know what I mean? And they could get rid of your body immediately. That's why people say things about Carol Baskin, that she did feed her husband to her tigers, because in reality, a tiger could eat you up and they will never know. They will never come across this shit when they shit you out or anything in time. So like, there's no way. And that's a perfect. And like I said, those immigrant people if they could do a horse in 10 minutes or less, they could do a human in 3 minutes or less. Sure of it.
You keep saying immigrants. Are you saying they were illegal immigrants?
I know for a fact they were illegal. I know for a fact because some of them did speak broken English. And like they even because I would try to, when I did film, all of them were like, they did not want me to film them. They were like, no, and they'd say whatever their words. And some of them could speak some English. And they just straight up told me, no, they're illegally.
What did Joe pay you? You don't have to answer this, but what did Joe pay you to work there? Like, what was your salary?
See, that's another thing. The man never, ever paid Joe. You never paid me right. And that was messed up. I was supposed to get $900 a week when I went down there. It did not work out that way. What I ended up getting a week every 2 weeks was like $400. And I had to beg and fight him for that every single 2 weeks. Fight him.
Now, a lot of people on the documentary talked about the drug use that was going on property. David, from what you saw, did Joe Exotic was he a drug user?
I never seen Joe do anything, but I do know that he would go. Well, I mean, because he would everybody. It was just common knowledge that when he would leave, he was going off on his benders, and he would. I mean, he would go to the hotel that was near my apartment. I would see his vehicle there, so he would go there and literally. Here's what he would do. He would go there and hook up all weekend long, like through ads. At that time, he used Craigslist and stuff like that. Yes, and hook up all weekend long and do meth and just do like random hookups and stuff. And so, like, but I didn't physically see. I'm glad I didn't physically see him do it, but it was just common knowledge that that's what he's. And then when he would come back, it was also knowledge to not fuck with him for at least 2 to 3 days because he was coming down off all that stuff, and he was really super mean when he would come back. Because I guess when you come down off of meth, you become super mean.
Well, at least he gave you a heads up, right?
Well, no, he didn't. The other employees told me, yeah, they were like, you can't believe me. You don't want to go. And I tried a few times, and they were right. He's just matter of fact, and that it seemed like that's when the time I had asked for my pay. Do you know what I mean? So like every time I would ask for my pay, it would be every single time I'd need to get paid, it would be a huge fight.
Now, David, you are an openly gay man. In the Netflix series, it showed Joe's wedding. Joe married two guys. Sorry, guys, spoiler alert, but this stuff's been on YouTube forever. Joe also had a way of manipulating men and other people to come work, for him. I just have to ask David, I'm going to ask you straight up. Did you and Joe Exotic have a sexual relationship ever?
It's funny, the Post Gazette asked me that too. And no, we did not. And here's why, and I'm just going to be truthful, because Joe's a bottom, right? And not that I'm versed, but Joe is a bottom. And the type of, because look at the type of guys he got. Actually, the type of guys he would get is the type of guys that I get. I don't want them, but that's the kind that I unfortunately attract. So no, because he was a bottom, he knew I was not necessarily interested in that type of thing. So, but no, Joe and I never we never hooked up, and I never felt that he was trying to come on to me or anything like that. And maybe because he probably knew for me, like I was never into Joe that way. Like there's never, if anything would get, that's the way to make that's an antidote to a hard on for me is show me a picture of Joe Exotic and I will not be horny anymore.
Oh, that's funny. Did you ever feel sorry for any of Joe's boyfriends at the time?
Well, no, I did not. Absolutely. And I still don't. And here's why. Because I knew they were all trying to. Here's the thing that goes on at that park. Everybody that meets Joe tries to use Joe. Everybody that Joe meets, Joe tries to use. So it's a circle of them all using each other. Men like that, those people that he got, aren't going to be interested in Joe unless Joe has something to give them. What Joe has to give them is when his parents die, which they're about to die any minute now, unfortunately. Um, he gets all of their land. They have acres and acres of land. They also have money. So then he gets their money and their land. He tells their boyfriends, if you're my boyfriend, if you're my husband, if anything happens to me or even not, everything I have is yours. Everything I have, he'll meet a guy for a week and be like, no, everything I have is yours. So they believe that. So then they enter into this marriage thing with him. And now, like that Dylan guy, I can guarantee there's no possible way these people are attracted to Joe Exotic. Sorry. Okay, if y'all saw him in real life, you would. I'm sure somebody in the world would be attracted to him, but it ain't Dylan or John Hinckley or whatever his last name is. It's none of those guys. So they all wanted to use Joe back. So guess what? If anything happens to them, I know. Do I feel sorry for them? No.
David, you're so fun to talk to. You have such a wonderful personality, and I'm so glad you got out of there, by the way. But why do you think Netflix chose to not have you involved in their mini documentary series?
I think the reason why is because I know the real truth about stuff. Because if I was in that Netflix series, I would have brought the thing like, y'all, this is not true. I mean, what is true about all the hyperness and activity that goes on. That is all true. But there's also like an underside to that where all that hyperness activity is negative too.
You may have already answered this, but let's elaborate maybe. Were Joe and Carol having a feud already at the time you were working there, and how bad was it?
Well, that time we'll say on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being when he went to jail. At that time it was about a 2 or 3. And the reason why he wanted me to go down there was because Carol Baskin is very good at media and getting views and all that type of thing. And he had no defense strategy for that. So she was getting a lot more attention than he was. So he needed a strong video initiative. And then he had saw the success, fortunately, thank you God, that I have with making television stations. So then he was like, bring that success on down here. And so then, because I basically I had the know-how on how to develop a TV station and run it and produce shows and all that stuff. So he needed somebody with those skills.
So what you're telling me is when you first started working for Joe, he basically hired you to make him look good on camera so Carol and other animal activists would get off his back. Am I correct?
Yes. Well, exactly. Well, that's exactly it. That was one that's there. You put it so eloquently. That was exactly it. Because Joe wanted me to give him, because he was getting a really bad rap from Carol Baskin in all her videos, and he had no way to counteract that. So yeah, I was there to make him look like a good guy, and that Carol Baskin's bashing this guy who does all this good. And that's why we fought all the time. Because I was like, you can't do this. This is not a show about you bashing Carol Baskin, nor is the station. The station is about the conservation of animals. But every show he'd make it about Carol Baskin, and that was our biggest fight. Was so when I went down there, I didn't know that he wanted me to use me as a weapon, and it was my intention because I thought he was a good guy. So it was my intention to go down there and make him look like a good, use the power of television just like Netflix did, and make people believe that he was a good guy, and that is exactly what I did. Unfortunately, while I was down there, I used the art of video to make him look like a good guy.
But now you obviously went from Team Joe to Team Carol Baskin. Tell me, David, what's your relationship like with Carol now?
Well, I just talked to her and her husband the other day. It's still good. I would say that, like, I could sense in their voice, like when I talked to Howard yesterday, I could sense in their voice. I think they're worried that I, I don't know. I think they might be worried about what I'll say. And I have no, I love the Baskins. They've been very good to me. And, and like I get asked about her husband thing. God, and Carol Baskin is literally, have you ever met her too? Oh, yeah. I don't know if you ever met her in real life. She also has kind of the power that Joe Exotic has. They both have that power that cult leaders have. That's why people just are fascinated. So Carol Baskin also has that. Hers is more angelic, but she just has this power of attraction when you're around her. So the Baskins are good people. They're good people. And, and I think when Carol, when she first started this whole cat thing too, she had the same intentions as Joe to make some money off some cats, and then it just kind of grew and grew. And then Carol should never, I mean, maybe she should have, but you know what I mean? You pick your own battles type of thing. So then she chose to go up against Joe Exotic. And then she didn't know that he was like her and had that special power that her, Donald Trump, Joe Exotic, all of them got. She didn't know that he had that power too. So when you get two energy forces like that going up against each other, all they do is feed off each other. It's also my opinion that, like, he's in jail for attempted murder and stuff like that. But actually, I don't think he's guilty of that. I think he's certainly guilty of all the animal killings and all that violations, all of that. I think he should be in prison for that. But knowing Joe personally, first of all, that man never had no money, ever, ever. So I don't even know how he could get $5,000 to pay some hitman guy, okay? Like, him and Carol almost feed off each other, and they almost need each other. So, like, in a strange way, I don't think he had any desire to kill her. He might have said that, but without Carol, he doesn't have. Who's going to pay attention to? Okay, Joe, now you just own a zoo. You don't have this thing with Carol going on. You don't have this. There was no attraction. There's nothing special about him, so to speak, without the Carol Baskin saga. And the same with Carol.
Now that Joe's in prison, do you think that Carol and Joe will finally stop this feud?
Well, I could be certain that both of them have agreed that the saga with each other is over. I mean, they would be completely stupid ass people if they didn't realize that. But what they're going to have to worry about now is like Carol now is getting death threats every day, where before it just used to be sporadically from the Joe Exotic team, I guess. But but now she's getting them all the time. And this is unwarranted because people are making their opinion based on a freaking Netflix Inquirer version.
I think something that's really important to remember is that people tend to forget that these are real people. Like Joe is really in prison. Carol is really unfortunately getting death threats, like for real. These are real people. What's the psychology, do you think, in glorifying people like Joe Exotic? I mean, you're seeing it all over Facebook. You're seeing it on Instagram, YouTube. People, these comments are just like kind of pro Joe Exotic. They're like free Joe Exotic and all this stuff. They're buying the mullets. People are buying T-shirts and they're basically glorifying Joe Exotic. What do you think the psychology is behind that?
America feels the exact way that the guy who produced it wanted them to feel. That there's this crazy character, larger than life person up there, and uh, and they wanted him to look like that. Like I said, I didn't see it, but the way America feels is exactly what Netflix or the people who produced it wanted it to be. So unfortunately, America's mass psychology, whatever, is not very good because we're just paying attention to things that are, I call it Kim Kardashian mood. If that's an adjective, it's the Kim Kardashian effect. You know what I mean? It's like literally paying attention and idolizing things that are completely stupid and not worth this. It doesn't help life at all. What the fuck does Joe Exotic do for life to enhance life for you, America? What? What? Nothing. Nothing. He doesn't help animals. Life is crazy. How many people have suffered because of that? People have gotten their arms bit off because of this. This man is not good for this place. But we're worshiping him. I'm not.
And now a quick word from our sponsors over at twooddballs.com. Guys, Two Oddballs Creative does everything from killer web design, like my website, canotefilms.com, to graphic design and all your crazy marketing needs. Guys, head over to twooddballs.com/canotefilms and get 10% off your first invoice. Two Oddballs Creative, funny name, awesome results. I know you've already touched on this, but I'm just going to flat out ask it. Do you think Carol Baskin killed her husband?
Oh, like I said, my opinion is open about that. And I seriously don't have an opinion like that she did or she didn't, because I am so old, right? That I have learned in my life that things are not always as they appear. They aren't. And there's been like, how about this? One time I'm a Mormon, right? And I'm DJing. You would think at a Mormon party, nothing's going to go on, right? So I'm DJing at a Mormon party, and I was attacked with a machete by somebody that was dressed up like Jason. In other words, that's an example of you don't know in life. You don't know anything. And the people, you could be someplace and somebody who you think would never do anything like ever, anything crazy like that would do it. And it's happened to me. So like, because I'm old and wise, I cannot have an opinion if she did or not, because I don't have all the facts because I wasn't there. And even meeting her, even though as angelic as she is, so are a lot of other killers. So I'm not sure if it's appropriate for me to even have an opinion. So I don't even let myself have an opinion, basically. Right. If she did, she got some balls, but I mean, damn girl, if she did, then she's, I don't know, a master at whatever. No matter what, Carol Baskin is not in a good place right now. Poor woman. Uh, I most likely she didn't do anything. She's going through all this stuff for nothing. But I bet she's probably rethinks in her life. She's like, you know what? I can't stand fucking cats anymore. She's probably like, I want to rethink this whole cat thing now.
Since you were still friends with Carol Baskin and you just recently spoke with her the other day, did you get any sense that she is loving all of this attention or not?
No, it's in her voice and even in her typings. And yeah, from what I know of her, I get the vibe. No, that woman is scared and she's sad. and she was betrayed because she was told that this is going to be a. And the funny thing is, the guy who produced Blackfish was even in contact with her, but this other documentary, the one that was on Netflix, she was flat out told, "Oh no, this is," and she was convinced this is going to be a Blackfish type documentary. You know what I'm saying? That's why she went ahead and let them have so much access to her riding a bike and all that kind of stuff. Because I know Carol, she would never have agreed to this unless that's what it was going to be about. So they tricked her, and they made it look like she, killed her husband. And the thing is that killing the husband thing has nothing to do with anything except that Joe Exotic says it.
Do you think Joe was set up? I mean, he always joked about taking Carol out, but do you think maybe just Joe possibly just ran his mouth so much for attention? I mean, don't get me wrong. I know he really disliked her, but do you think he just ran his mouth so much that it made him look guilty when in fact maybe he wasn't? For example, I don't know if you saw on the news. I don't know if you saw that clip.
Yeah, I remember that day when he made that. That was the day when somebody broke into the park and released a tiger.
Joe said that he would go all Waco if someone ever tried to take away his tigers. Do you think that this insane statement set him up to make him look basically just super guilty no matter what?
I don't think it helped, but I know he had said it many times before that. Like that was like when he said that, that actually wasn't surprising because he had said that several times before on the shows prior to that.
I mean, that's a pretty ballsy statement right there. But with everything being said, do you think Joe was possibly set up?
Everybody that meets Joe Exotic wants to use Joe Exotic. Everybody that Joe Exotic meets, he wants to use too. So it is a circle of both of all them using each other and trying to take advantage of each other and trying to get each other's things. Joe has been set up from day one. Ever since I've been down there, every person that I met that knew him, I got the sense. All of them, because there would be people kissing his ass and everything like that would come to the park just like sucking up to him in a weird fucking way. I'm sorry, I gotta say that word. In a weird way because they were, they all wanted to use him.
I don't know if you knew this or not, but Prince, the singer, the artist, apparently liked his entire life pretty much filmed. Like, there's stories where he just have somebody just film just random stuff, and apparently he's got a vault with all of this footage, just randomness. It's just kind of bizarre. He just wanted his life filmed for no reason. I don't think he's ever used the footage for anything. But just like Prince, why do you think Joe Exotic wanted every single moment of his life basically filmed?
I don't know why. Because he is, I think more or less because he wanted people to see that there's cameras following him. To be honest, I think that's why he actually more or less wanted. Because when I first got there, he told me, he goes, "Anytime you see me, I expect there to be a camera in your hand." So it was all for attention. I'm telling you, that man is so obsessed with fame that is how he got to where he's at. He's in jail because of his obsession with fame. Even while he's in prison, he's still obsessed with it. Like nothing will waver his obsessed with that. And that's why it's kind of serendipitous or whatever that he's now getting all the fame that he has been lusting after almost his entire life, and he has to be in prison while it's happening. That's karma working there.
Well, David, I thank you so much for sharing your amazing stories with us today. Again, I'm sorry that you had to go through all that crazy trauma, but I hope you could at least use what you went through for something positive in your life. Is there anything else you'd like to say, David?
The only thing I have to say is this: listen, America, this is all great fun, I guess, right now, doing the Tiger King thing. But, please understand that it's a much bigger picture that the what animals are going through to be at these zoos, to be eaten in wet markets and all this stuff. You got to understand that your dog that's laying beside you right now, that little kitten or cat, these things are being eaten too. There's so much death and harm that's coming to animals every single day that is hidden from you. And exotic animals, you don't even know. Like, I'm not even gonna tell you that, but some of the stuff there's some stuff that I've filmed and seen that I won't even share with people because I don't want them to have that information in their mind, to have that picture in their mind, because that's how bad it was. Like some stuff I've seen happen to horses while they were still alive is just I like worse than a horror movie, and I won't even say the details necessarily because of that. So if I don't know, sometimes I think people should see that stuff because that'll change your life and the way you think about animals. When you look into an animal's eyes, it's being killed, stuff like that. Look, I will start crying. I can't handle that. So like that stuff has got to stop. You don't know. You don't know what that's like until you see it all the time. So that's what people need to take away from this tiger king stuff. Understand that there's a bigger story behind all of this, and it's animals suffering, being killed and slowly dying in front of you.
Bless you, brother. One more thing. Here's a question I actually forgot to ask you. You mentioned to me earlier that you have yet to watch the Netflix series. Why is that?
Well, I never really understood what is it, PTSD or whatever they call it. I'm afraid to watch it. I'm gonna be honest with you because I'm afraid to watch it because I'm afraid that I'm gonna start feeling like the way I felt before, and then because I've noticed like through all these interviews I'm doing, like all these other memories that are coming out. That because when I left there, I made myself for a few years forget everything. Like I deliberately made myself forget everything. I deleted stuff that I had just to wash that out of my life, or whatever. So I won't watch the Netflix thing because I feel like it's going to bring back all the horror that I used to, because it took me a while to get over that. So like, and now like today I've been thinking about all those things I had to film. Like, but to see like a face of a big majestic tiger having his cub taken away and stuff like that is super super sad. You know what I mean? And then seeing animals die slowly because they've been shot in the head, or else like he would shoot horses in the head and the first bullet didn't do it. So then he'll shoot them a few times and all the bullets aren't working. Do you know what I mean? And then they sit there and they die and stuff like that. And then they start cutting them up while they're still alive. So like just like weird, crazy, crazy horror movie stuff. So anyway, so that's why I won't watch it.
Brother. My heart hurts for you, man. Part of me wants to say like shame on me for even like glorifying Joe even just like a little bit, you know? I think it's just the craziness of it all that makes it somewhat like surreal, you know? And comical, if I'm going to be real. I mean, it really does, just because it's so surreal. It's almost just comical. But the truth is, David, and you've helped bring this, you've helped shed a lot of light on this. The truth is it is real. It is 100% real, and it's just really sad. But here's the good that came out of this interview for me and hopefully for the viewers is that this show is not about Joe Exotic. This show is about the animals. And that these poor animals are still going through this. So it's about the animals, it's about the abuse, and it's about what we can do as individuals to help stop these kinds of things from going on. These kinds of animal parks that inhibit this kind of behavior and abuse their animals.
Well, they should also know there's people out there because I've met them that are worse than Joe Exotic. So they're Joe Exotic without all the fanfare. Like people with monkeys and stuff like that, like little monkeys, and they try to say that they're therapy animals, therapy pets. That is such bullshit. I can't believe that the government lets you do that. They take them on planes and everything. Completely normal, well, not totally normal, but completely normal people, not sick or anything, faking like, oh, they have to have these therapy monkeys and stuff like that. And then these monkeys live in gilded cages. You know what I mean? But then on the inside, when you're not watching, these monkeys aren't being treated well, and they're being slapped around and stuff like that. And that's why it just angers me so much that they're goddamn worshiping. They should, if they, I wish that they'd be like, we want, thank God he's in jail because we'd be trying to get him if he wasn't. To me, that's the way the world should be looking at this, because then you'd be looking at the truth. But I have a feeling America has no interest in the truth right now. And how could we with a government like ours that never tells us the truth anyways? We don't even know truth anymore, to be honest with you. Right.
David, thank you again so much for joining us today. Real quick for the viewers, tell us, what are you up to today?
Well, I still own Gay Life Television, and that's going pretty good. Fortunately, we are for many years now. We are Roku's official LGBT channel. So you can find us in there. We're Gay Life Television and Gay Life Television Premium. And so I do that. That's my main job. And we produce talk shows, and you can find movies on there. If you have content yourself, well, it doesn't even have to be LGBT related, as long as it's cool, fun. Send it to me. I'd be glad to throw it up on the broadcast. So I do a lot of that. And I also own a private men's club called Pittsburgh M for M. It's like a social group for men, and I try to promote brotherhood, things like that. So I'm always for the good of people or something. And then I also own exoticanimaltv.net. So that's a place where you can go get all your exotic animal news, your latest news. It's updated every single day. So you can find videos and news on that. And that's exoticanimaltv.net. And then Gay Life TV is gaylife.tv. And then if you want to see it on Roku, just go and, fortunately, we're in the Roku channel store. So just search Gay Life Television, and it'll take you right to the station, and you can try it out. So that's what I do. And then also I do a lot of 3D printing and hang out with my boyfriend.
David, thank you so much. I just can't thank you enough from the bottom of my heart for being on the show. It's just been real compelling, and I've honestly learned so much talking to you today. Thanks again so much for being a guest on the show.
Well, thank you too for having me on and giving me the opportunity to let people know, the truth. But yeah, so I hope your viewers come back. And you have a really good show. I've watched some of your shows in the past. You're a very good entertainer and talk show host. So you're going to go even further in this genre, I can tell.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. Thanks again. And Dave, hopefully one of these days we'll be able to catch up again. Have a good night, and thanks for being a guest on the show.
Bye now.
Guys, thank you so much for watching the show. There you have it. David Stanton worked for Joe Exotic for 2 years, roughly. Guys, how crazy is that? Crazy! Those are some crazy stories. So sad. Guys, what do you think of the new podcast? I really appreciate you guys watching this episode. I was really excited about this. We're going to call it a video podcast. But yeah, what other topics would you like to be seen on here? What other people would you like for me to interview? I used to have a show called Chris's Arcade where I just interviewed a bunch of like 80s and 90s like celebrities and just random stuff like that. What's great about this video podcast is I can interview and theme it however I want. I just do whatever I want. That's kind of the whole point of this, guys. So thanks again, guys, so much for watching the Chris Canote Show. Tune in for the next episode. I don't know what's going to be. But then again, leave your suggestions below. And also, guys, I want to know, have you watched the Joe Exotic Netflix series? And if so, what did you think about it? And would you like to see like another season? Hopefully they do that. I think it'd be pretty wild. Guys, I'm Chris Canote. Thanks again so much for watching. Subscribe, hit the like button. I'd really appreciate it. And we'll see you guys next time.